person like that, you think of them as in this like static, fully formed version.
Right.
You don't usually get to see, and especially someone like you, who you went into so much depth about your rise and fall and rise and fall. It wasn't like a straight linear process between you getting inspired and then you becoming this bad motherfucker.
No, it wasn't like what's that show called that Will Smith plays. That Black Pursuit of Happiness, man, like where the guy struggles and then he gets over it and he makes it.
Yeah.
I fell on my ass. I thought I got to the top of Mount Everest, and Mount Everest is far for a fucking hour getting pumped up because I'm a shy, introverted, leave me alone type of guy. Like, I'm still that motherfucker who is 6 years old, at a play who can't say his line because I know I'm going to stutter in front of 5 people. So I walk off. I started getting around these real alpha males. These hard men. And I always put people way above me when I was growing up. Like, my God, they had to have a lot more than me to get to where they're at. And a lot of them did. But once you get around the best of the best of the best people, you can kind of start breaking them down and realizing, man, you're just as fucked up as me. Like we all have, but all you did was you hit it better. Your upbringing, your mom and dad, your society, the way you were raised, it hit it better than mine. You weren't the only black kid, or there was like 5 in a school. That's right.
Who are you right now?
That's a true statement, man. And I look at it as psychological warfare. And that's where I started learning that life is one big psychological warfare that you play on yourself. You play on yourself, man. The most important conversation I ever had is with myself. And the shit I was telling myself was so fucked up. It was so wrong. It was so misguided. And other people start to write that dialogue for you also. And it starts to be what you say to yourself every single day. And I started creating a whole nother warfare. A whole nother battle started becoming. I was like, oh, hang on a second, Goggins. You have these tools. You have these tools. Your life was basically the perfect grounds for training for where you need to go in your life. All the beatings, all the bullying, all the, you going through learning disabilities, all the struggles. It was the absolute perfect training ground for you to go to where you need to go. And that's how I started looking at my life versus woe is me, poopy pants, kick a rock down the street mentality. It was, God just hooked you right the fuck up. He hooked you. They didn't have to learn. They didn't stutter. They didn't struggle. No, man. Your struggle is what made you who you are now. So I started flipping this into a whole different. I started being a master of what I was scared of. I was scared of my mind. And I became literally a master of that mind. And that's what from now on, it sets me apart from most people. I started diving into that.
Well, that is a big part of the stories when you go over your childhood and, your abusive father and then having this great guy that was going to become your stepdad and then he gets murdered. It's like right when you're about to get out of it, everything looks good, boom, and then he gets murdered. It's like these things really did sort of set you up to start from scratch again and just go, okay, roger that, we start from scratch.
That's how I started to develop these things through working out. It was this great never-ending work ethic. And through work ethic, I developed self-esteem.
Now, is this something that you learned? Is this something you learned yourself from exercise yourself? Or is this something you had read or heard about? Like, what made you equate doing this and doing these difficult things physically to mental toughness, to being, this is the discipline that you need in order to get your life out of the situation you're in?
So I never read anything. I could barely read, so
right.
I wasn't reading back then. I watched a lot of movies, and I was really big into visualization. And I always equated working out to struggle. And I struggled my whole life, but I ran from it. So I started realizing, man, I got to start facing the struggle, and I got to be mentally strong for the struggle. So that's why I started coming up with, I'm training for life. Mentally, I'm training for life. I'm not training for, tons of repetition of the same thing that you don't want to do. And that's the key thing. Through repetition of things you don't want to do, you develop mental, like an armor for your mind. You start to armor your mind because your mind's like, okay, we suffer every day. That's what we do. We do stuff that sucks every day. So then when the suck stuff comes, you're ready for it. And that's how I started coming up. I just started being very uncomfortable. And now it's like just a way of life. And what you believe in. There's been this unrelenting voice in my head. We all have this voice. It's the right or wrong voice. And a lot of times that voice guides us into comfort. And my voice guided me to comfort a lot. But I had this other voice I heard my whole life saying, hey, motherfucker, what are you doing? Nah, man, we got to go over here. We got to go over here to that rock pile over in the fucking corner where nobody's at. That's where victory's at. We're over there in that corner. So this voice was giving me all these answers. Now, I wasn't a real smart kid growing up, but I had this crazy voice in my head saying, over there is where the fucking answers are. And I wouldn't listen to it because over there was pain. Over there was me looking in the mirror. Over there was me being accountable for all these things that went through my life. And I had no soul to begin with. And my brother, he has a story that he could write 5 years ago. Not for sure. I didn't go to the funeral, but I forgave him. So I saw my dad through an 8-year-old's eyes. So we left when I was 8. And then at 22, I went back to see him through a grown man's eyes. And he was the same person I remembered. But I had to. You can't live with hate. You cannot move forward. As much as that guy tried to ruin all of our lives, that's where I came from. I had to figure out the origin of where I started from. So when I was going back through my life trying to fix who I am, the fucked up person I was, like, if your knee hurts, it's usually not your fucking knee that's hurting. It's something else, man. Like, it could be a tight quad. It could be the right leg if it's the left leg. You got to find out the origin of where all this shit began. And it was him. So I had to go back to where, my roots and the origin of all this. I had to start dumping off some baggage. I had to start figuring out me through him. And that's all he was there for. He was the origin. I had to figure him out, figure out why he was so evil to my mom, to me, my brother. And I had to start studying him. Like, a lot of people have situations where someone does something and we all attack that person, like on the media. If someone does something wrong, everybody now is fucking perfect. And we now judge this guy. I don't judge him. I don't judge anybody. What I do is I start studying them. Why did they do that? Not in a judging way. I want to learn from you.
And what'd you get out of your dad?
I got that he grew up rough. He was very insecure, had a lot of kids, and his insecurities.
You had failed, and then it's not just one time. Like, you do the thing in high school where you get your shit together, and then you join the military, and then you wind up getting fat again. And then when you have to lose, 106 pounds in 3 months to qualify for SEAL training?
For SEAL training, yep.
That's insane.
Yeah, because what I realized at that time, once again, I failed again. I thought, so what you're talking about is I took this ASVAB test. I didn't know how to read and write pretty much in high school. I was like at 4th grade reading level. And I took that test a few times. And I finally passed it. And when I didn't have any kind of tools to handle it. I'm like, man, I thought I fixed this already, man. But no, I didn't go deep into the dungeon of my soul and say, okay, what is making you a quitter? What is making you a weak man? What is making you afraid? And so that's why I kept on quitting and going back to start, or not knowing how to get through hard times. And that's why I always tell people, I'm not a theorist. I didn't study, I didn't study a fucking book. I literally put myself in a fire repeatedly like a sword. You put a sword in the fire repeatedly and repeatedly. If you keep on doing that, you're going to get a nice sword. And then you keep on beating it. You got to beat the shit out of it. All right, man. The brain is starting to get hard. The brain is starting to get hard. I'm no longer a theorist. I'm now a practitioner. I put it in hell. I dissected it while it's in hell, because you can't dissect anything in the fucking freezer and freeze the fuck out of it. And then you dissect it. Dissect it when it's miserable. Dissect the brain when all it's thinking about is, I need to get out of here, man. I want to get out of the fucking freezer. Open the door. And he said, nah, 5 more seconds, man. 5 more seconds in the freezer. And that's when you start to pick that brain apart. And that's what all this stuff did to me. I kept on putting myself back into the freezer or the fire and beating the shit out of myself, mentally and physically. Before I knew it, this is what happened.
Wow. It's an interesting way to self-teach. You know, like most people that, you talk to that are disciplined, they, they have those 240s. He does those ultra. He's a sick fuck.
And see, those are the guys I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's a scary. The two of you guys, you need to pick a number.
I know.
I think you guys are gonna run 35 miles. Yeah. Are you gonna do good?
Yeah,
35 is a good number.
Yeah, we've been texting back and forth trying to make it, sensible,
Yeah.
so we don't go off the chain.
Because if one of you motherfuckers wakes up and has a good strong espresso,
I know.
Goes, fuck it, let's do 300.
It's gonna be on. It's gonna be a long day, man.
No.
That's it.
Yeah. You know this new race that they're doing where they're you run for 1 hour. You run like as many, and then you have like a bell rings, and then you sit down for a little bit. You know what I mean? Like there's like a 4.17 mile thing.
Yep.
It's that sick fuck. What was the guy's name that created that?
The guy did the Barkley Marathon.
Yes.
He's talking about Laz.
Yeah, this crazy fuck.
Laz.
So he had people running for days. Gym race.
It's his probably easiest race. It's like through the back country of Tennessee. It's a 41-mile race on the road. It's one of the first ultra marathons out there ever. And my mom lives in Nashville, so it's like an hour drive. I went up there, and it was like one of my first races back after me being all sick and jacked up for so long. And I got lucky, had a good race, and I happened to win it.
You were talking about psoas muscle.
Yeah.
And all that. We have this thing now that we got. What is that called?
So right.
So right. Have you ever used one of
I
those
have it also.
things?
I saw it in there, that little black contraption.
Yeah, that hard plastic thing.
Yeah.
That thing's phenomenal.
It's evil, man.
Yeah, it's good.
It's amazing.
I started getting tightness in that when I was running a lot. Like, I'd never gotten tightness in that area before.
Yeah.
It seems like that's a running thing, right?
It's a running thing and also a very stressed thing. If you're real stressed out, man, like for me, like I talk about the origin, where things start. My body was so wrapped tight, I didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
So I started with the psoas muscle, so that's a real good spot. Dude, when the headphones come off, bro, it's you in your own mind.
Right.
I know how to do that. That's the hard part,
man. Do you
man.
ever listen to music when you run?
Never.
Never. Told you, Jamie's cheating.
He has that video I got. I thought you might have seen it.
But
he talks about like running with music. And
what did you say? Find it. Find the video. We'll play it. We might not be able to play it. Is it somebody else's content?
I actually, but I did during my last pull-up record. I listened to, that song from Rocky 1, round 14, when Rocky gets knocked down the corner. I listened to that. It's 2 minutes and 13 seconds long. I listened to it on repeat for 17 hours. Merry Christmas, motherfucker. Merry Christmas.
Oh, man.
17 hours, man. I went to such the dark evil. I have a picture in my hand in the book. I was in a dark. I went to a place, man, that I'm like, I can do anything here. We gotta live here for a while. Cause I kept on feeling that record. I go, I don't want to see a pull-up bar again. I mean, like, I did 67,000 pull-ups, man. Like, this is my third. I'm like, I can't. I don't want to see another pull-up.
And when you're doing this, the whole time you're doing this, you're doing some of the hardest chin-ups you can do. You got a chain around your neck.
Right.
For the folks that are just listening, and you're pulling down on ropes. You're doing chin-ups on, it looks like taped-up ropes.
Yes, sir.
That's what it is. Yeah, those are grip.
Yeah.
That's like jiu-jitsu guys do a lot of those.
Yeah, so I spoke to the University of Alabama, and they were in there. Most of these athletes, man, they got to get hype. So that music is blaring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, once that shit comes off, and you get popped in your fucking mouth.
Yeah. There's no answer.
It's not in there.
It doesn't exist.
No. Find some water, real cold.
And what's interesting is that is a mind thing. And people think of mind things. They think of calculating, mathematics. They think of literature. No. There's many aspects to the mind.
That's it. Don't overthink it.
Yeah.
Don't overthink it. Put your shoes on. Lace them up. That's all you got to do, my friend. Don't overthink the process.
Yeah, but see, because you've overcome and because you've accomplished so much now, that even when you talk about that moment of like embracing that suck, like you see the big ass.
If you keep on attacking something, nothing wants to stand in front of anything that is relentless. Nothing.
The Taking Soul part of the book is really interesting because you talked about like the mind shift that you had when you were in Buds.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's an intense part of the book.
It is. That's when a lot of stuff started clicking, man. I started watching those instructors on the side because there's 3 shifts. There's 8 instructors, 3 shifts, and you have the instructors who they've been there, done that. Now they're instructing you, so they do their 8-hour shift. They have their parkas on. It's usually cold, drinking their coffee, and they're beating the crap out of us. And when I started realizing, I started playing mind games. I was like, you know what? I bet these fuckers are looking at us, judging themselves about when they were going through Hell Week. Let me see, I'm looking at Goggins right now. I was better than him. I was better than that guy. I was better than that fucker over there. And I was like, okay.
You're going to have to figure out how to pull that energy out of your mind on your own. There's There's no book you can read. Now, all of a sudden, I have it. I've got the technique now. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
No, it's a grind that you have to start and finish on your own.
You have to take great pleasure in the fact that no one wants to be where the fuck you're at right now. Great pleasure in that. Almost makes it has to bring a passion out of you. It has to bring something very, very weird out of you, man. Like, people don't really. Yes, sir.
Did you get it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When did you get it?
I got it on my second pull-up record attempt, and I talk about it a little bit in the book there. And I have sickle cell trait, and a young kid just died for the repetition with using the single points of just my hands and my biceps, my back. Like, my body was swollen like the Pillsbury Doughboy. I mean, it looked horrible. And so they kept me in there for a while, but
how long?
Probably about 8 hours. I was in about 8 hours on IVs and stuff like that.
So it's basically a rehydration issue.
Tons
That's a big
fluid.
part of it. Yeah,
tons of fluid. And they sent me home though, so I went home that night.
And how long did you wait before you jumped back at it?
I think I was back on the pull-up bar about a week and a half later. And then I broke the record 6 weeks later.
Wow.
I broke the record.
Jesus Christ. So when you did get back on the pull-up bar, how fucked up was your body?
It was bad, but what I do is like so like I said, like 6 years ago, I started stretching out like I thought I was dying. I couldn't even get out of bed. So all that stretching out was from pretty much all these injuries I had that I never really fixed. And my body got knotted up and more knotted up and more knotted up. I mean, it's going to heal. One way or another, it's going to heal. And when it heals, it's not going to heal right. It's going to heal all jacked up and crooked.
Yeah. So
I'm a crooked, jacked up dude, man, but I can still get it done.
It's amazing that you haven't had like knee surgeries or anything like that. And consider all the running you've done.
My left knee right now it's no joke. So like I say, origin of pain. My right foot is messed up because of my left knee. So right now I'm taking care of my left knee. It's getting a lot better now. But don't worry, Cameron Haynes. I will still be fucking out there running with your ass. I'm not gonna get out of it, buddy. So if you're listening, motherfucker, I will see you this weekend. Merry Christmas. All right? Just so you know, brother. Merry Christmas. I'll see you soon.
You don't know what's wrong with the knee? You have no idea?
It's from
not a lot of time. That's the crazy thing. They didn't give you 3 months to lose that. 33 pounds a month is a lot of fucking weight. Plus a few.
Almost impossible. And that's what I thought. But see, you see the person I am now. Yeah. I was 175 pounds in high school. So I was a skinny guy in high school. So I made myself big. Mm-hmm. I'm a small boned person. So it wasn't, trust me, it was hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But
what did people think around you when they saw you 3 months later? You're 100 pounds lighter.
My mom couldn't believe it. Because so I was living in Indianapolis, Indiana at the time. And so I was trying to study for this ASVAB test again that, I got to take it again, going in the Navy. And I'm out here trying to lose weight. And I'm, working for this company, spraying for cockroaches and all sort of crap. And I would lay in her pond in fucking November in Indiana. Just lay in her pond. I was like, I'm going to bust. I got to get hard. So I would lay in the pond, get out of the pond, and go for a run. Just all wet, cold. Like the daggone shirt would just freeze up from ice and shit. And I'd be out there running and say, what is wrong with you, man? Like, you were that kid who just didn't want to, like, what's wrong with you? So she started seeing the transformation, like, this guy is obsessed with trying to become somebody. Next thing she knew,